Kamala Harris is giving Donald Trump a huge scare, but her honeymoon could actually be ending. She might just be too flaky after all. Now, it's true, Harris has raised record money since the Democrats forced President Joe Biden to quit the election race against Trump and chose Harris as vice president instead. The media's got so excited, they're pumping her tyres, yet Trump still leads in polls in most of the swing states that will decide this election in November. And one problem for Harris, I think, is that she spent a lot of her first week as the Democrat candidate still pitching to the party's left, not to middle America voters who are crucial, the swing states again. For instance, she even pitched for the backing of drag queens by dropping in on the RuPaul show and urging them to vote.
Can I get an amen?
Amen!
Oh, and that, honestly, nails on a blackboard sometimes, some of her stunts. Now, it seems that Kamala Harris might just realise now that kind of pitching to, minority groups, like identity groups, instead of the broad, it's not going to get us far. So she's now trying to junk past policies that don't fly in, say, coal mining Pennsylvania, like the promise that she once made banning fracking for gas. Nope. We had her on tape doing that, I thought. But anyway, her promise is now gone, says her campaign. She's also backflipping on guns. No automatic buyback for assault rifles after all. So joining me is Sean Spicer, Donald Trump's first White House spokesman as president. Sean Spicer, thank you so much for your time. Look, you and I said last week, to most voters, Kamala Harris is a blank slate. And that she's a shapeshifter as well. And she would try to reinvent herself from a woke leftist to someone reasonable in the middle. How's that transition going for her?
Well, first of all, I just got to give you credit. I've used Shapeshifter over and over again on my podcast. I did give you credit initially, Andrew, and said that you said this, and I thought that was the best analogy that I heard. So if you hear it coming back at you, just know that I did give you credit initially. I thought it was such an apt analogy there. But how's it going? Listen, when you have a media, as we do in the United States, that is willing to whitewash her record, so she can literally be on tape saying something like, I absolutely support banning fracking, no question about it, on a CNN town hall stage. She said it on Jimmy Fallon, a late night show, over and over again. And then she comes out and says, I'm against fracking, and they all write the headlines. She came out, they fact-checked Donald Trump because he said she gave to something called the Minnesota Freedom Fund, which was a fund after the Black Lives Matter protests that just had tons of destruction and vandalism throughout our cities. They fact-checked Trump and said she never said that. Then the Trump team dug up the tweet in which she said, please donate to the Minnesota Freedom Fund. Over and over again, we're finding these examples on her policies and her words where the U.S. media has literally gone out of their way to support her, to wipe her record clean. And so when she is a blank slate in the sense that the media here will do whatever it takes to make sure that she can be whomever she chooses to be. She can be moderate one day, liberal the next, progressive the day after that, and kind of conservative the day after. Whatever audience she's in front of, they'll let her be that.
Well, it's got to catch up with her. The Republicans have got to make sure it catches up with her. But, there's not that much time. The media is very, very pro Kamala Harris on the whole. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance. Look, we said before, maybe that was too arrogant to pick, when Donald Trump was cruising against Biden and he didn't need to pick someone who's going to win a state like a governor. But anyway, J.D. Vance is having to explain away some of his own past rhetoric, like this attack on cat ladies of all things and people without children.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. Kamala Harris, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who's now the Secretary of Transportation, Cory Booker, AOC, I think all these people They're different. They come from different walks of life, different parts of the country. What is the one thing that unites every single one of them? Not a single one of them has any children.
Sean Spicer, that particular attack sparked a lot of criticism, not just from America's cat ladies, but Jennifer Aniston, the French star who struggled to have children with IVF. Is J.D. Vance dragging down Donald Trump?
Well, look, I mean, if you look at the full context of the speech, he literally started off by saying there are, groups of women that have trouble giving birth, and I feel for them. My comments aren't targeted at them. Look, maybe he could have said it better. I think he's gone on to explain what he said the other day and really pushed back hard on this. This is a guy who was raised by women. He didn't have a father figure in his life. He married a very strong and successful woman. He understands the role of women in his life and in this country. But I think the broader point that he was making, and when he was on another show the other day, he was very clear that the policies of the Democratic Party are anti-family. And if you're our country, you need to have a next generation to keep the country moving forward. With the Democratic Party's policies, they don't encourage families. They're very anti-family. And then you've got this video of Kamala Harris saying that many people don't want to have children because of things like climate change. And I think JD was trying to draw that contrast between a party and a ticket with him and Donald Trump that really wants to encourage families, the growth of families, the maintenance of families, because too often right now, I think what we're suffering in this country, not just in the long term, but even in the short term, are the consequences of policies that don't support families staying together and people having families in the first place.
Yes, but as soon as you're explaining, you're on the back foot, and that's the issue.
That's why I said I agree with you, Andrew, that it probably could have been said better. But look, the reality is that Kamala Harris has about 100 quotes in the last 24 hours that have resurfaced with her saying stupid stuff. She said 18 to 24-year-olds are stupid. That's a key constituency for them. Again, this climate change thing that has come forward where she said that that's why people don't want to have families. You and I talked earlier about the flip-flop on fracking. So look, did they unearth a clip of J.D. Vance from several years ago where he was trying to have a conversation about policies that affect families and probably taken out of context doesn't go over well? Sure. But I think we're 98 days now out from the election. This isn't going to be the first of the last.